piece of me?
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Good morning, Vietnam! I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
You do! You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
What's up, film fans? Welcome to episode 262. Welcome to our 5th anniversary, and welcome to the Cinema Movie Podcast. I'm your host, Juan, and I'm joined by the cast, the crew, the guys. Ella.
Hello.
Hey.
Zach and Zach.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And then special guest, Zach SCHEERER. How are you guys doing today?
Can't complain. How are you guys doing? It's a beautiful day in California.
Pretty much. It's actually been nice here in Oklahoma, too. We're usually we get 3 days of fall, and then it's just way too cold. Yeah. And we actually are getting a fall already.
I actually miss the seasons, to be honest with you, because it just seems like the years go by so fast out here. It's like 8 years like that because there's no seasons. It's just.
I can completely see that. I've been to California a couple of times in various seasons, but mostly like Fresno, LA area. And it's so weird how it's pretty much always the same.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it gets pretty hot in the summer. I'm not going to lie. But
yeah. The last time I went, it was like in October. And it was the first time I saw a beach foggy. Like it was so foggy. We went to Morro Beach. And there you see it like the huge like Morro rock. You couldn't even see the rock. It was so foggy.
Oh wow. Yeah, it can get pretty foggy out here too. Like I'm closer to like Laguna Beach area. It gets pretty foggy over there too because the mountains kind of create its own atmosphere over there,
Right.
So
Yeah. You missed the boiling summer weather over here, so you're not missing much on that.
Yeah. I spent a little bit of time in Florida this summer and oh my God, it was hot down there. We went down there to visit some family and stuff. Me and a bunch of family members went down there and really hot. But I'm used to the hot summers in Illinois too. So, because I'm from Illinois. So trust me, I've lived it. Yeah.
So guys, let's get ready to get into our interview with Zach. If you guys have not joined us or if this is your first time watching or listening, you guys can listen to us on any streaming service that you guys listen to podcasts, Amazon Music, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify. And then you can check us out here on the social medias, facebook.com/the Cinnamon Movie Podcast. The Instagram is all one word, the Cinnamon Movie Podcast. And then X, formerly known as Twitter, is at Cinnamon405. Or you can send us emails, which is cinnamon921@gmail.com. So, Ella, do you want to get into the first question? What would you like to ask Zach before we get things kicked off?
So I watched and looked up some stuff about this movie, watched a trailer, saw the cast who was in it. So I'm kind of just wondering, how long have you been in the industry? What big projects have you worked on?
So I've been in the industry now about 8 years, I'd say. It's been close to 8 years. And projects-wise, I've gotten a chance to work on some TV, some film. It's kind of been up in the air, a little bit of everything. I kind of got my career started in TV. Actually, in the stunt world a little bit is really where I really got my foot in the door. I worked on a television series called Kingdom, and I came in to do like a one line or something like that. And I used to dabble in mixed martial arts, and I have one like semi-pro mixed martial arts fight. And so awesome. When I was on set, it's an MMA show. And when I was on set, I met Joe Daddy Stevenson, which is he's like a UFC Hall of Famer. And pretty much showed him some of my stuff, and he brought me on the show. And next thing you know, I was Nick Jonas's stunt double. And that got me my SAG card. Yeah, and that got me my SAG card.
That's so awesome.
And that was in 2015, and the rest has been history. That's what truly got my foot in the door. And the funny thing is to pay homage to Joe in this film, I actually the character, Ty Simpson's character, actually is obsessed with MMA in the film. So I reached out to Joe and I got him in touch with production, and we had a shirt made with Joe Daddy Stevenson on the front, and pretty much a homage to him. And then there was a scene that I helped. I didn't help that much, but I helped a little bit in writing a small 5-second scene where I just made a couple lines where SCHEERER Ramirez's character says, "Oh, Joe Daddy Stevenson," and then Ty says, "Oh, you like MMA?" You know, so
just one of those
nice
throwaway lines that's just for you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I wanted to pay homage to Joe, which is who really got my foot in the door. I mean, he brought me into the Kingdom family, and you know, from there it blossomed. So I really appreciate that.
Love that story. So I'm a nurse in the ER, typically just ER ICU kind of, but just critical care background. And we've had a film industry for quite a while in Oklahoma, and it's just now picking up. But the people I always see in the ER are the stuntmen. Literally,
Yeah,
we get them pretty often. I mean, not like crazy often, because that would be like really bad for everyone. But like, I always meet the stuntman first.
Yeah. No, they get beat and banged up, and you know, thankfully I didn't have to dabble into it much. I mean, that wasn't my goal. It was simply an in, and I saw the opportunity and I capitalized on it. And I do have quite the physical background, so I was able to adapt pretty well. But mainly I was like an MMA type stunt double. I mean, I did get tossed a couple times. I got hit, tossed, and slammed by, you know, Diego Sanchez and a couple other guys, Gray Maynard, and you know, a couple other people. But you know,
and that's just called living your dream, man.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I saw that as an opportunity. And hey, if it takes getting hit in the face, I don't mind. I stepped in the cage once before, and thankfully wasn't hit in the face. But hey, you know, you gotta take your licks.
Years, and I would not even shadow box with Tyson Fury. I'd get hit. No.
Yeah, he's a beast to be reckoned with. But I'd rather not step in the ring with Mike Tyson. Even Tyson Fury says he wouldn't step in the ring with Tyson. So
never.
So Zach, no. I asked this question last week to some of the guys that were on the podcast with me, and I thought I'd ask you as well. What does Zach drink first thing in the morning? What's the first thing that you drink or take a sip of to like get you going? Is it a C4?
Yes.
Something along the lines of an energy drink, which I know I should probably chill out with. They're not the most healthy, but a protein shake and an energy drink. I mean, that is 365 days a year. Protein, exactly. Premier Protein, that's my go-to, the caramel, and an energy drink. And I mean, the protein shake is good, but energy drink, probably not the greatest. And I think I've graduated to 2 a day now, which is probably even worse. And you're talking, I take a pre-workout as well before I work out.
Wow.
Oh yeah. So I
really need to pull it back.
I mean, it's probably a really good thing that you do a lot of physical activity during the day, I hope.
Oh, I do. But even then, I mean, it's not good for your body to have 800 milligrams of caffeine a day. I mean, especially all the other crap that's probably in there. I mean, so
yeah. I drank 300 milligrams and I'm like shaking. So I'm like, nope, gotta get that down.
I'm past the shaking. That was years ago. So
after you know, looking you up, you reached out to us, and I kind of wanted to ask this last week when just me and you were talking. But how did you come across finding us? How did that work out?
I don't know, man. It popped up. One of your things popped up on my YouTube, and I was like, oh, what is this? And I started watching it a little bit, and I'm like, I've been getting calls from to do podcasts and been asked to do some things. And I'm like, I think this one would be pretty cool to jump on. I mean, I like the fact that you guys go over the films. A lot of the films that you guys have went over, I'm big fans of. I do have to admit, I'm not a big fan of the cartoon, the Batman cartoons. Right. That one I did watch when I was a kid, not gonna lie, but everything else that like I watched you guys bring up, I enjoy talking about film. I mean, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, is because I literally enjoy film. It's what I enjoy doing. I like to tell stories. I like to be part of stories, and You know, these movies have shaped us. I mean, it shaped me completely. The archetypes that are talked about in every single film. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with, you know, how to devise and write a script, but they all have a specific pattern and beat that you're trying to look for. And a lot of that is an archetypal story that was told for, I mean, these type of stories have been told for hundreds, there's thousands of years, you know what I mean? So it's something that's ingrained in our DNA as storytelling. And, you know, I wanted to be a part of it ever since I was a kid. I mean, I remember I think it was 7th grade. I took a speech class, and in the speech class, Mrs. Steele was the name of the teacher. And in the speech class, she would give us opportunities to do these little like bits. And me and a buddy of mine, Nick Formhalls, picked out Mel Brooks' 1,000-Year-Old Man. I think it's 10,000-Year-Old Man, actually. Yeah. And we did it. We did a little stint on that. And even though I was already playing, you know, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Bruce Lee, karate in the basement with every movie I watched, trying to be the hero, then something sparked in me with that. And we had a blast. I mean, we actually went to like competitions and did that. And we did very well. But you know, at some point that somebody told me it wasn't possible, and it kind of died. And then later in life, it woke back up, and thankfully it did. And here I am. So,
nice. Well, talking about what you drink in the morning, your character that you play in the upcoming movie, Stu, probably something that Stu would like to crack open.
I think Stu would probably crack open a Stu's Brew, which actually next week is being launched in Kentucky at Mirror Twin Brewing. It's exclusively their drink. It's a mango IPA. Oof. I would imagine Stu would probably go for that. And that was good. I didn't even expect you to give me the opening for that. That was really good. So, but yeah. You can catch that. A little more information on that. You can look it up there. We're doing like a meet and greet, a little like play some games and stuff there, but it's in Lexington, Kentucky. Anybody that can make it out there, you know, it'd be great. It's going to be fun. And we're releasing that beer. And it's got good old Stuart Gable right on the front with his arms crossed. And once you see the film, you'll understand why an IPA is important to Stu. Or should I say not important to Stu?
Right.
So to save her job, and we'll go over the synopsis of what your movie's getting ready to be released. September 29th is the release date. The re-education of Molly Singer. To save her job, a young lawyer must go undercover, enrolling as a freshman at her old alma mater. In order to be the well-being of her boss, terribly awkward teenage son. And that's from IMDb. If you guys want to look IMDb up, but it's directed by Andy Palmer. How was the process of getting involved with this project, and what was it like getting, you know, just your feet wet in this project here?
So, Andy, I've worked with Andy in the past. We worked on one project together two projects together in the past, as far as me acting and him and directing. And then also, he's worked on a couple other projects with me where he was doing editing and stuff. So, also me and Andy have written a few projects together. So I have a relationship with Andy, and I have a relationship with one of the producers as well, and another producer as well. So when the story was written and it was brought to me by a producer, with the intention of me playing Stu. I don't know if I was always intended to play Stu, but I know that when this producer particularly got their hands on it, they thought, oh, okay, Stu would fit pretty well with Zach. And then I got the script early. In all honesty, I think I may have gotten that script before any other cast member. Maybe, I'm not sure.
That's kind of exciting to like be the first in something.
It was pretty awesome. But again, it was a big gamble for these guys to give me this chance. I mean, don't get me wrong. They had to, like, me and Andy worked through Zoom calls and together to, you know, make sure that I was going to be able to play this. You know, it wasn't something that was just handed to me in that sense. But in a way, it was a trained ability that collided with an opportunity. If I wouldn't have shown them what I was made of and who I am and how much work ethic I have and, you know, the depths that I'm willing to go for my career in regards to character building and doing what I need to do, I will be the hardest worker in that room. I assure you.
Yeah.
I will know every line that I have, including everybody else's lines. And
you
I
take
made
your
that
job
apparent
very
soon.
seriously.
Yes. And I made that apparent very soon. So I want to say that they always had me in mind for that part. And, you know, I went to college. I was in a fraternity. I saw many douchebags like Stu. I probably was one of them. Maybe, I don't know. But it was a fun character to play. And by the way, I'm very long-winded. If I talk too much, just smack me and I'll stop talking.
No, it's great.
No,
it's a great answer. So I have a question for you about directors that you haven't worked with. Are there any that you would like to collaborate with in the future?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I mean, of course, everybody wants to work with like a Scorsese or, you know,
Spielberg and, you know.
Yeah, Spielberg, Scorsese, Coppola, even Stallone. I would love to work with Stallone.
Yeah.
But I, you know, or even let's say David Fincher. I would love to work with, like, you know, some of those. But more recently that's coming up, it looks like I might be getting the opportunity to work with Sheldon Lettich, which is the director of Lionheart and Double Impact. And, you know, if that takes off, which it looks like it's going to take off, and me and Sheldon have had multiple talks about it. We've, you know, talked about the script. We've already started developing the character and all that kind of stuff. And Sheldon, you know, basically he thought of me for this role. You know, he basically called me up and said, man, I got something great for you. And I would really want to work with him in the future, solely due to the fact that, I mean, Lionheart, I'm sure you guys have seen Lionheart. I mean, that is honestly, in my opinion, one of Van Damme's absolute greatest performances, not just in the action genre, but as far as acting in general. And I think that Sheldon helped bring a lot of that out of him, because talking with Sheldon, he's got a clear vision and he's good at understanding the actual actor that he's put in that character. He's good at devising and understanding what they're good at, their strengths, their weaknesses, and capitalizing on that. And so I'm looking forward to working with Sheldon. But if I had to, like, right now pick one out of a hat, like, hey, you get to work with this director tomorrow on this project. Honestly, man, I'm going to go a little bit outside the box and I'm going to say Stallone. Just because I'm such a fan. Yeah, I'm such a fan of his work ethic. And I would want to go toe-to-toe with him and show him, okay, I've learned so much from you over the years watching you. You're the first person to show up, the last person to leave. You're the first person to sweat, you know.
Let me be here earlier.
Let's go toe-to-toe. Let's see who can do it. Let's, you know, I would love to do that.
That's awesome. It sounds like you're just coming to that point of this is your job to you're actually living that dream. Because I know from the way you're sounding, how many like first scripts or even close to first scripts have you gotten before?
What do you mean first scripts? Like where I'm
like
number one? Like the
like you're number one, or you were thought of for the role and didn't just try out for things like that.
Honestly, I've probably got to say just these two, the Stu and the Sheldon Lettich. I mean, I would say again, I'm sure that, you know, there's somebody out there that wanted that. Actually, I do know there was somebody out there that wanted the Stu character. I can't say who it is, but he's a known guy. He's on a very prevalent hit series. And I thought for a minute, man, how are these guys going to step up and stand behind me with this guy wanting this role? But they did, you know, Andy and one of the producers, Warner, you know, those guys, they believed in me and they gave me my shot. And I told them every day, I probably told them, I'm going to kill it for you guys. I promise. I will not let you down. Thank you for the opportunity every day. And so I couldn't just say that. I mean, I had to live it. I had to every day going to the set, man. It was like, I'm pinching myself. Like, is this what I'm doing? You know, but at the same time, there's this like part of the competitive side in me. That's like, this is what you're doing. And this is who you are. You know, don't think of yourself any lower than anybody you're going to go toe to toe with today. And so that's what I did. And you got to walk on like a professional and you got to work like a professional and you got to do what you got to do, but have fun doing it. And that's what I did. And I wasn't afraid to go toe to toe with any of those actors that have been doing it since they were kids, since they were child actors, you know? I'm not. It doesn't faze me. I can step
You
up
know,
and do it because I know I put in the work.
I kind of do have a question about what it's like working with Jamie Presley. She's one of my
Okay.
like all-time favorites.
Jamie's awesome. She's phenomenal. What's your question? There's bugs. Sorry,
Honestly,
bugs.
just how's your experience been? Like, you said she's amazing. Do you see that same work ethic? Is she one of those people that is just going to be there, know her lines, and from her work, how long she's been around? I would guess so, but
Jamie is phenomenal. She honestly like almost mentored and mommed us like the whole time. She would always be the one to ask you like, "Hey, how are you doing? Are they treating you well? Did they give you the right lunch?" You know, things like that, which is great. It's good to have. I mean, to me, I'm not the type to where I'm going to complain about anything. I'm on a movie set, living my dream. There's nothing that I could complain about.
I could be getting yelled at by Tom Cruise.
I could say, "Hey, I want a filet mignon," and they bring me Spam, and I'm going to be like, "Okay, cool. Let's do this." You know, that's where I am in my mentality. I haven't earned anything yet. But she was great in that sense to where she was that type that would check in on us and stuff like that. And then when we went to the premiere here in LA to watch it, it was just, again, she was great. You know, she would mentor us and chat with me and my wife. And my wife was a big fan of her. Sarah loved her. And they hit it off. They were like best friends all night, you know, and it was so great. Cool. And, you know, just at some point I'm standing back later when we're going out with Jamie Presley, and it's like, what am I really here right now? You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, okay, I am. Let's do this. Yeah. So she's great. Jamie's awesome.
Presley. That's so cool. I was really, honestly, that's exactly the person I thought she was. And I'm just really glad to have that firsthand validation that it's true.
And she's so talented, man. I mean, like, she literally, we're standing around and we were chatting about I Love Lucy. Because my wife and I watch I Love Lucy, and Jamie's like a huge I Love Lucy fan. And I didn't even know that. And all of a sudden she just goes into an I Love Lucy monologue. And it's like I Love Lucy's inside of her. Like she was possessed with Lucille Ball. And like she was perfect for it. And I'm like, dude, you would have killed it in that movie with that recent movie that came out. I can't even remember what it's called right now, but she would have killed it. She would have done just as well as Nicole Kidman, if not better. I mean, she was phenomenal. And to me, she looks more like Lucille Ball. But
I like that casting. The only other person I had in mind for that was Leslie Knope. I was like, it should have been Amy Poehler.
I know. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I could see Jamie stepping into that though. Hardcore. I really could.
Yeah, that would be beautiful.
I'm glad you mentioned Jean-Claude Van Damme, because I feel like when you mention 80s or even 90s, like action heroes, like I just got done watching the Arnold documentary a few weeks ago.
Oh, that was phenomenal, wasn't it? So inspiring.
And when he brought up the little rivalry with Stallone, I'm like, man, where does Van Damme fit in all this? Because I feel like Van Damme is so underrated when it comes to
100%.
Not only
I believe that
acting, but doing a lot of his own stunts in his movies. I was actually getting ready to watch Bloodsport this week. And I'm just like, where
Sheldon wrote Bloodsport. Sheldon Lettuce wrote Bloodsport.
Nice.
So
nice.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Universal Soldier. You mentioned Lionheart, Double Impact. Yeah. This guy should be on like the 80s and 90s Mount Rushmore of action movies, just like Stallone and Arnold. So I'm glad that you mentioned him.
Yeah, I think. In my opinion on that, I think it was more so what was happening behind the camera with Van Damme that kind of didn't solidify. I mean, don't get me wrong, dude, he's right there.
Yeah.
But I think there was just some other stuff going on. And also you look at Arnold, like Arnold got really, big into producing, and, Stallone got big into directing and producing. And I think Van Damme pretty much stayed in more so that actor role. Yeah. But man, in my opinion, he's one of the greats. He really is, man. I mean, you can't have a conversation with Arnold and Stallone without bringing in Van Damme.
Yeah.
Come on.
Bring it over to Zach. Zach had a few questions up that you wanted to bring up.
What's up, Zach?
Yeah, no, you were talking about Jamie Presley, and the question I was going to ask is, on the flip side of the coin, you're also working with Britt Robertson, who I've seen her in a couple things. She's a very, very talented actress, and Ty Simpkins, who obviously the Insidious films. He was in The Whale earlier this year, which was incredible. Is there any actor, actress do you look up to that is just like, you know what? I want to follow either their career or just like they're just a role model in the business.
100%. I got a few. Right off the top of my head, I got to go with Paul Walker. In a sense, just for what he stood for outside of the industry. I mean, talk about a guy that had so much more going on than just acting. I mean, that was just a part that was superficial on the exterior of the surface. I mean, the guy was traveling around helping, people in poverty, buying people rings that needed it. Like there's a story with him inside of a jewelry store and he buys a couple of rings because, the guy basically told the clerk that, hey, I'm sorry, I can't afford this one, and he bought it. Like I mean, talk about it. Talk about a great guy, man. I mean, staying true to himself and being who he was. And I love that. Another person, I'm going to give you two more. Another person is Patrick Swayze. And I'm going with a few that are deceased, but I truly think that the candles burn so bright sometimes with certain people that, that's what happens. They burn so bright, they go out. But Patrick Swayze, man, I really idolized just how much of a genuine guy he was. And I love watching like Inside the Actor's Studio and watching, stuff like this where they're talking and they're being themselves and you get the chance to see who they really are. And I watched that interview with him and Barbara Walters where he starts talking about, he gets choked up because he's talking about his father. And I love that because his inspiration was his family and his father. He wanted his father to see what he could do, what he could accomplish in this life. And I had the same relationship with my grandfather. And so, seeing that, it hit home with me. And the fact that he's a real man, dude. He doesn't care about getting dirty. He's not whining about his food. He's not whining about what he didn't get. He's going out there and earning every second. And there's something honorable about that. There's something honorable about a guy that doesn't mind getting a little bumps and bruises, as long as it betters everyone else. And I think the impact is about, how do you impact somebody after you're gone, after you leave either the conversation or you leave this earth? That's what it's all about, And so I'd say him and then another deceased one, Robin Williams, same way.
Man.
I mean, you
talk about
not even. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say you talk about Inside the Actor's Studio. That interview with him is just gold. It's everything that you want it to be. It's incredible.
It's so inspiring, and I watched all that stuff. I remember being in college and watching that stuff, and thinking, one day I can get there. One day I'm going to do this, but did I ever really think it was going to happen? No. But going back to Robin Williams, it's like that Ben Affleck story that with Ben and Matt, where they wrote that script and literally he came on and did that for nothing and put the money back into the movie because he believed in it. And then literally he basically started Matt Damon's career, man. Yeah, I mean, he walked Matt Damon over to the director of Talented Mr. Ripley, and he met him. While he was a nobody, or no, I'm sorry, it wasn't Talented. It was for Saving Private Ryan. He met Spielberg just because he goes, hey man, I just want to introduce you. And then boom, he goes, wait a minute, I think I saw your audition tape, didn't I? No, you're perfect. But I thought you were skinny from that movie you did, Courage Under Fire. You remember that interview?
Yeah.
And to me, it's like that kind of stuff, man. Picking people up. The one thing I want to do in this industry, I want to pick people up, man. I don't want to put them down. I don't, and it happens too much in this industry.
And to me, it's just like, I know it's hard to believe that Robin will be gone 10 years next year. That's hard to believe for me. And I remember when he passed away, I just put his stand up on loop. It was just like, it put you in a good mood. Is it vulgar? Absolutely. That was his style, but it just puts a smile on your face. And I think, unfortunately, the way he went out is truly sad, but he brought so much joy. I whether or not he knew that in life, I don't know, but obviously we're fans of his. Obviously,
there's a documentary on Peacock though that a lot of people say the way he went out was real sad, but there's a documentary on Peacock, and he was truly faced with a disease that nobody really knew
about. Be bad. Yeah.
And one of the things that that really always he meant a lot from day one for me. The first movie that I remember watching is Patch Adams, which is like the happiest thing you could ever see. And I don't really remember anything in between, but I feel like the next one was What Dreams May Come. And that is literally what really kind of put into my head what heaven, hell, suicide, and all those really difficult concepts. I was not even 7, and I was like, oh, okay, that fits.
Dead Poets Society was one that oh my God, jumped in. I mean, of course, Good Will Hunting, but Dead Poets Society really, that was my first other than obviously being a kid and watching Mrs. Doubtfire. Growing up, it was Mrs. Doubtfire was all I remembered him from, or Peter Pan. And then when you get a little older and you watch Dead Poets Society, you're like, holy crap, there is something magnificent to this guy. He's not just a comic. He's not just a comic. He's not just somebody that's funny and quirky and crazy. He's real, and you can feel it.
He takes his job seriously, and he does it to help people. He wants to better people.
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying. He would talk to a bum on the street the same way he would talk to the president of the United States, and that's what I aspire to be like.
And that to me is what's incredible as being an actor. Obviously Robin Williams is no promise for his comedy. I mean, you can't forget Jumanji. That was a huge player in my house when I was a kid.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But like you said, he can do Dead Poet Society. He can do Good Morning Vietnam, Good Will Hunting. Those type of
he can do it because he's felt that. He's done everything. He's felt those. It's in there, I truly think to be good at what you do too, you got to go through some pain, man. You have had to feel some pain. You got to be able to go there.
We talked about last week, No Hard Feelings with Jennifer Lawrence, and I think she's another one. She's a very good dramatic actress, but with that movie, she can do raunchy comedies. It's just the ability to go back and forth is very impressive.
It's funny you bring that film up because we get the re-education of Molly Singer's been getting nabbed a little bit. They're saying, oh, it's very similar to that, and it's really not. Once you watch it, you'll see. And to be honest,
in the trailer, it didn't look like it.
No, but people are saying it it's just because she goes undercover. I mean, but how many undercover stuff there is out there, man. I mean,
exactly.
Come on.
Well, and speaking on that, you obviously you're in one of the most highly praised, highly criticized businesses in the world, Hollywood movie making.
Yeah.
How do you, if I may ask, how do you deal with rejection? Because obviously you got to have a really hard skin to go into that business and be rejected 1,800 times for different things. Just how do you, as an individual, as an actor, take that on?
Well, aside from how I deal with it myself, I would say the best way to deal with any rejection in life is having a particular action that you take daily to better your mind, better your body, better your soul, being a better person in general. If you're taking actions that are snowballing into those tiny little nuggets of confidence that fit back in here and in here, then when the rejection comes, it's nothing. It falls off you. And you can't lay your entire soul or stake into one thing. I've had plenty of rejection. I just had some not too long ago. It's part of any business. It's not just part of this business. It's part of life. And you have to let it roll. And the only way to do that is to stay moving. Because this moment you stop, it's like what Bruce Lee used to say, running water never goes stale. So you just got to keep flowing. And if you keep flowing, you'll start to break apart the rock and the pieces will open to where you can go through that channel at some point. And another thing too that's helped me in my thoughts is knowing that, okay, maybe this just wasn't meant for me. My wife's really good at that. Not that there aren't times that I'm not like, oh man, trust me, it's there. That's a normal thing. But my wife's great too at telling me, hey, look, maybe it's just not where you're supposed to be right now. And to tell you the truth, that has happened. There has been roles that I have gotten to where if I would have gotten a different role, I wouldn't even have had the opportunity because I would have been caught up in that, or certain things like that in life. And you have to look at it like that. What's the other alternative? The other alternative is nothing but, chaos and destruction. You can't look at life like that. If you look at it as you just found a nugget of gold, no matter what, you win. And that might sound naive, but it's not.
I really feel like you're just listening to the core of what martial arts and MMA kind of teaches you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
absolutely,
it makes complete sense that you have that mindset.
Absolutely.
So Zach,
martial arts are a big integral part of my life. Very big. I'm sorry, Juan, go ahead, buddy.
You're good. You brought this up just a little bit ago about, this is a tough business, and it's almost like you're so genuine as far as you want to leave the business better than the way you found it.
I want to leave life better. I want to leave humanity better than the way I found it, for sure. And I'm just using this business as a catalyst, Yeah.
And for what it may be, I'm not a part of the industry, not a part of the business, but I'm a movie fan. I love it. It helps me get through life. So everything you guys do when it comes down to actors, movies, I almost look at it like it's just a society of the best of the best. Whether you're in, honestly, it doesn't matter to me what some of the people may be in, as far as from the top all the way down to the bottom. Somebody bringing in the catering or somebody eating the catering. Like, I'm always going to say hats off to you and anybody who's willing to get in front of the camera and do stuff like that. Huge fan. And that's genuine. But I had a question about like goals before this year is over, or maybe just in general, just movie wise or business wise. What's some of the goals that you want to just set out for yourself for the next, maybe if you had like a 5-year plan?
Yeah. I want to touch on something you said though, as far as holding, people in front of the camera up to a higher standard. I think anybody that is taking the necessary steps and action to go after whatever they want to do, regardless if you're in the camera, you're a bricklayer, you're working on toilets, you're president of the United States, you run a Fortune 500 company, whatever it is, as long as you're staying true to yourself and you're literally taking the necessary steps to better yourself and those around you every day, you win. And it doesn't matter if you are doing that for a family of 4 or a family of 40 million. It's the same, it's like the butterfly effect. That one little thing that might spark into one person that you talk to may change, their great grandkids' life or something along those lines. And that person may do something so amazing for this planet or this world or whoever that is it's so giant. There's nothing little, if that makes sense, but so I think taking action is number one for that. Taking action in something that's going to better people, not taking action, just any type of action. But I'd say in regards to like my 5-year plan, you said?
Yeah.
I mean, for one, I have 2 projects that are in the works right now. I mean, one, I would like the SAG strike to be over. I would like them to get that worked out and where everybody's on an even keel and everybody's happy as best as they can possibly be. 2, I definitely would like to work on these 2 projects. I've got a comedy. It's going to be a fun comedy, and I'm going to be playing a pretty funny character. I can't go into much because nothing's been released at all. And then of course the action flick, which is more of, something I've always wanted to do to kind of showcase my martial arts and get into the action genre, which it's funny. When comedy stepped on my doorstep with Dave, it started with Dave, the television show Dave. And then this one here, well, then there was another zombie comedy I did, a very, very, very small role there. But I was like, comedy, dude, I want to be kicking people in the face. What are you talking about? Like, you know what I mean? But a lot of my friends and everybody would tell me like, dude, you're hilarious. Like the people that know me the most and see how I, screw around and play around and make jokes and play around a lot was like, dude, that's you. Comedy is you. You have it. Go for it. And now it almost feels weird to say like, oh man, I'm ready to kick some people in the face for Sheldon Lettich in a film coming up, So it's like, I want it all, man, if that makes sense. I don't have a 5-year plan. I don't have, I'm just going with the flow, man. And I'm just letting it come to me, and I'm going to it, and whatever's going to happen, I feel like is going to happen for a reason. And I'm not making too much of it, and not, also not selling myself short with it. So, hey, whatever happens, man, I could die tomorrow. And if that happens, then I'm happy with what I did. But I do have a lot of goals and aspirations.
It sounds like you want to absorb. It sounds like you want to absorb as much as you can as you go.
Dude, I'm a fan still, man. Like at the end of the day, I'm still a fan. When I worked on Lucifer, I'm like asking the PA, hey, can you take me over to the Friends set? Because we're at Warner Brothers. I'm like, dude, will you take me over to the Friends set? I want to check out the Friends set. When we're in the back of the jungle at Warner Brothers filming for Lucifer, I'm going, dude, this is where they film Jurassic Park and stuff, isn't it? This is where they film like Friday the 13th or whatever. Tons of different stuff they filmed over here. And I'm like, oh, that looks familiar. Oh, that looks familiar. So at the end of the day, man, I'm still a fan, and I'm just so happy to be doing it, So let's go. Let's just go. Whatever comes, let's go.
Right.
So
I want to make right decisions too. So
yeah. So I got one last question for you, Zach.
For sure.
Because you're in the business right now, and we're such in a pivotal time of entertainment and movie making and all kinds of stuff with the SAG strike and all this going on. As an actor, are you worried about the industry? Because it's ever evolving, changing. What was popular 10 years ago is no longer. We're such in an age of streaming and going to Netflix, HBO Max, all these types of things, and only the big movies have the time at the theater, whether it be Marvel, DC, Barbie, Oppenheimer. Like as an actor in the business, are you afraid of this tiptoeing towards streaming, or do you think maybe the theaters are okay? It's just we're kind of just in a weird time right now.
Yeah, I think everything ebbs and flows, man. I mean, bell bottoms were a thing in the 70s, and then they came back in the 90s, and it's like everything ebbs and flows. We as human beings, we want a little bit of certainty, and then we want a lot of uncertainty. Right. So it's like everything's going to ebb and flow, man. I'm not worried. And again, whatever is supposed to happen is going to happen. And I'm sure, 100% sure, it'll ebb and flow again and come back. I think
I'm truly not ready for the
COVID
90s to be back.
Hey, I'll take the 80s. I love the 80s. Anyways, but I think everything ebbs and flows. Like think about in COVID, like everything was streamed, right? Like crazy streamed. Yeah. And then what happened like 6 months after? People were cramming movie theaters because they fiended for it. And I think it's going to be the same thing. It's the same thing with Marvel. For a while, it was like Marvel this, it's all over. DC, Marvel. And like then all of a sudden it's
kind of died down.
We kind of want to pull back a little bit on that. Let's, and so like you have this CGI thing, and a lot of people are bringing the CGI thing up. And to be honest with you, I don't have all the answers. I don't know exactly. I don't have enough education on it, but I kind of do look at it like this. Okay. So the worry is like, okay, at some point, they're going to have a lot of people writing scripts with CGI, or, people might getting their face superimposed for CGI. And then why do you need actors? Why do you need writers and stuff? It's a worry. It is a worry. It's a legitimate worry. But at the end of the day, us humans are going to get complacent with it. And then people are going to start marketing they're going to start going totally, man-made real human being movie, blah, blah, blah. And then that's going to be a big thing again. And then, I see it ebbing and flowing.
Well, and to counter that, they've been trying to do that for years. Like, actors like James Dean and Jimmy Stewart and Elvis Presley, they've been trying to find ways to bring them back. It's just, I have my own thoughts on that, but that day is going to come. There will be a James Dean movie, 70 years after he died. So,
but people will get over it then. James Dean is who he is because of his legacy, because of that. Brandon Lee, Bruce Lee, River Phoenix, which I gotta say, Ty Simpkins in Insidious really reminded me of River Phoenix a little bit. He had that River Phoenix-esque of him, and working with Ty, he's so freaking talented. But those guys that have all everybody we were just discussing earlier, they're gonna live on their legend's going to live on forever. Nobody wants to see fake Bruce Lee. Maybe one time. Oh, that'd be cool to see. But then after that, you're over it. You know, that's gone. Nobody wants to live in the dead. Like I said earlier, running water never goes stale. You don't want to sit and look at a pond. You want to look at the waves as they come rolling in, right? You don't want to look at a small
watch the
little
old movie.
Yeah, exactly. Every once in a while, it's good, and it's good to feel that nostalgic feeling. But that goes away if you pull all that in, and that's what we also we live for, that nostalgia, and it goes away if it's a weird thing, you know.
So Zach, before we get out of here, one of our big and most favorite fun segments is a top 5 list. We're heavy on lists. We love lists here at the podcast. So a little impromptu. When we get back, are going to ask Zach his top 5 favorite movies of all time. So Zach, been a joy, been an honor for you to join us here today on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
5th year anniversary for us. Thank you. So 5 movies that you probably just could not live without, that are your go-tos. What would they be?
You got to limit me down to 5, man. This is hard. That's hard. God, I got to go with Enter the Dragon. I'm a huge Bruce Lee fan. Huge. I mean, that movie shaped me. Bruce Lee shaped me since I was a kid. If I would have never met Bruce Lee, dude, I wouldn't be sitting here. I assure you. Enter the Dragon, script-wise, cast-wise, ahead of its time, action-wise, totally ahead of its time. You didn't see anything like that with martial arts. Martial arts before that, you know, people were flying through the air with swords and, you know, chop, chop, you know, that kind of stuff. Bruce Lee, he brought emotional intention to everything. He was in it. You could feel it. You want to talk like, you know, seeing like a James Dean on the screen again. Bruce Lee had that esque. You know, he had that. He was an actor in that, you know, not just a superstar as far as martial arts. He was an actor. So I got to say Enter the Dragon. Next one is like I have a few go-tos. Stand By Me is one of the greatest cinematic masterpieces ever. I mean, we were talking about nostalgia. That brings me to my childhood in an instance. The moment I hear that tone at the beginning where, you know, Dreyfuss is sitting in the truck and he's reminiscing, you hear that music play. It's like, man, instant, boom, like you're there. Yeah. You know, you're there. And, you know, just how Rob Reiner got the, you know, acting, the whole thing out of those kids, got them to come out and give that performance that they did is just, it's phenomenal. Stand By Me is 100% one of my go-tos. Next, I would probably have to say The Outsiders. Outsiders again, you know, takes me right back, and talk about a movie that literally launched so many people's careers. And it was good. I mean, it was a great movie. Again, like I could watch that every day. If somebody said you got to sit down and watch The Outsiders, okay, let's go. You know,
just
I
because
love The
you're
Outsiders,
on this podcast and we got to say Oklahoma.
Yeah,
sure.
Exactly.
In Tulsa, we have The Outsiders house in Tulsa.
Exactly. And The Outsiders is, man, that is an all-time fave, you know. And it's crazy so many different people that I run into have never seen it. It's like, how have you never seen The Outsiders? Like, really? Like, you know. And then I'd have to say,
I was going to say, that's crazy. That's a Coppola film. It does not seem like a Coppola film, but it is.
No. So such a solid movie, man. So good. Next, I'm gonna have to say The Breakfast Club. The Breakfast Club, I could literally start to finish recite every single line. Give you a quick story. I was in an audition a couple years back, and they said, "Hey, do you have a monologue prepared?" I go, "Yep." And then next thing you know, I just go, "You guys realize what I did to get in here?" I taped Larry Lester's buns together. I literally just pulled it out. Like, I didn't even give him a chance to say start. I just go, "You guys know what I did to get in here?" And just slid right into it. That is by far one of my favorite go-to movies. And then I got one more, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to say Good Will Hunting. Just because the story behind it, how Matt Damon and Ben Affleck had it made, you know, Robin Williams being in it. There's so many, you know, gut-wrenching emotional scenes in there. Their performances were on cue. The relationship between Ben and Matt in the movie were phenomenal. The relationship between Matt and Robin Williams was phenomenal. That movie is a go-to of mine as well. I mean, I think in all honesty, I really figured out I wanted to act right when the first time I ever watched that, like really act, not just play, you know, karate in the basement anymore. Like I want to act, you know what I mean? And then I'm just going to slide in all the Rockies and the Lost Boys.
That's what I'm talking about.
I had to do that.
There you go.
So
you,
yeah,
I own everything you just mentioned, and you're definitely making me want to go and rewatch all these. Most of those, actually, all those that you just talked about, almost nearly perfect films, especially with Breakfast Club. Good Will Hunting, the story alone behind Good Will Hunting could make a hell of a documentary.
Yeah,
yes,
that's true.
Yes.
Yep. And that movie's got some phenomenal dialogue. It's no wonder why it won Best Screenplay. So.
Oh my God, no! I mean the scene between Matt and Robin when they're sitting on the bench and he starts telling him, you know, you ripped my fucking heart, you know, you ripped my life apart, dude. I mean, there's nothing better than that.
Yeah,
nothing better, you know. So, and that right there just proves how good Robin Williams was, and then can go straight from that into improving about talking about his wife farting in bed. You know what I mean? Like, and he improv that whole thing. And when Matt Damon is laughing, he's really laughing.
That's real
because he had no idea that was coming, dude.
Even the cameraman, like the camera going to like
you see the camera shake, right?
The cameraman's laughing.
Yeah.
Even another great line in that, another great scene in that is when outside of Robin Williams is when Ben and Matt, they're just kind of talking.
I knew you were going to say that.
If you're here in 20 years, I'm going to kill you.
I'm going to kill you.
I think that's great. Just to like, if you have something, if there's something you want to do in life, you have to go for it regardless.
You have to,
you know?
Yeah. So. And if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for other people that lived life for you to be able to have the breath that you have. I mean, that's one thing that people don't understand. You owe it not only to yourself, you owe it to everybody. Like I said before we even started the podcast, you know, a lot of actors changed their name.
Yeah.
Why? That's your name, dude. Somebody gave you that. Your grandfather, your mom, your dad, they worked for that name, dude. Stand by that name. Who cares if the rest of the public doesn't like it? Who gives a shit? You know,
there's so many
name, it's everything.
It's yours. And there's so many, if you go back in time and look at the golden age of Hollywood, there are so many actors. That's not even their real name. It's insane.
Oh, I know.
Really.
I know. And I get it, you know, maybe that's privacy issues. They want to do it that way. That I can understand. But man,
some of
stand by that name.
But some of it is they walked in and they said, no, we don't like your name. You're gonna have to change it.
Yeah. And I'd go,
right.
That's what I would tell them. Sorry. No, that's my name. Deal with it. You don't like it. And I think going back to the rejection, sometimes you got to be like that, man. Sometimes you got to stand for what's in here and not worry about everything out here. You know, it's hard to do. It's really hard to do, but you got to do it. So, I mean, if I'm ever going to say something, I stand for that, you know, being who you are, relentlessly being who you are, but also trying to be a better you at the same time.
So Zach, before we let you go, how many seats left for the
in the private premiere? Well, you know, I haven't checked my phone lately, but before I checked my phone a couple hours ago, I believe there was 35. I believe, which, I mean, we sold so many the first like 2 or 3 hours. It was nuts. But it looks like Singer might actually be getting a second theater because this is a private event. But I think they're going to, well, I'm 100% sure they're going to open it to the public as well. So we might do a second showing where I'll actually show up for the Saturday. Now it will be in public anyway, but the actual event I had put on was actually going to be private. Okay. So I think we're going to do a private one that's going to have a little bit more, umph to it, red carpet, Q&A sessions, all that on that Friday. And then another one on Saturday, which won't be quite as grand,
Nice. So nice.
Both playing it. I mean, both are going to be in Peoria, Illinois, which is my hometown. So
nice. So you got the private event coming
technically up. East Peoria is my hometown. Sorry. East Peoria.
You have the private event coming up. You have the IPA, which is something you mentioned earlier. Yes. I don't know if you want to hit that up.
That one's public. So the IPA is actually public. Yes. Yes.
And then
that will be at Mirror Twin Brewing, and that's in Lexington, Kentucky.
And then the re-education of Molly Singer, theaters, September 29th.
Yes, sir.
This has been an honor. It's been a hell of an interview, and I'm excited to go see this movie. Before you jump out of here, is there anything else you want to add to it? Or hopefully one day we can have you on again.
Oh, absolutely. I'll come on anytime. I mean, I really don't have anything else to add, man. You guys are great. I appreciate what you guys do. This stuff needs to happen a lot more. There needs to be a lot more of this stuff going on, where people can, chat about and reminisce about movies and film. I mean, it's what built us, it really is.
Yeah.
It's not all about TikTok and Instagram anymore. Come on. Let's get back to our roots.
Right. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah. The 80s, 90s films, even the 70s. Oh man. Again, my go-to is probably 80s, but yeah.
I pride myself on not having social media, so I feel like I'm doing good, pretty good.
I have to have social media. I took a hiatus, man. I took a hiatus like 3 years ago. People were losing it. Like,
oh yeah.
Are you okay? Are you okay, Zach? Everything okay? Yeah, dude. I just need to take a minute off. Yeah, it's Yeah.
Like, you haven't posted today. What's wrong?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, Zach, again, I want to thank you for stopping by and hanging out and talking movies with us. Again, go check out Zach in his latest movie, The Re-Education of Molly Singer, in theaters everywhere, September 29th. We're going to take a little break. When we come back, we're talking about Batman, The Mask of the Phantasm. Zach, thank you so much.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good luck on the premiere.
Appreciate it. Pleasure chatting with you guys.
Good luck.
You as well.
Thank you. Good luck to you guys as well.
Thank
Stay
you.
relentless. Okay, we'll see you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye, bud.
All right, guys. We are going to get ready to talk all about Batman, Mask of the Phantasm. Before we get started, though, Zach, how was your weekend? Did you have a good weekend?
Mine was okay. Just had a lot of medical issues going on, but overall, still on this side of the ground, so that's always good.
So,
what about you?
I was not as busy as I thought I was going to be. So I ended up watching, ended up having a lot of rewatches, and just, had a pretty good watch list. So
yeah. I know you've been on a documentary kick. Is there anything you want to recommend real quick?
You know what?
Or you want to save it for next week?
No, we can talk a little bit about some of the, you know what? I will save it for next week. You, sir, have been with us since 2018, literally just a few episodes after we started.
Yep.
This podcast has been a lot of ups and downs as far as the way we sound, but the last few years have definitely been on the way up. Let's talk just a little bit about the history of the podcast, man. We forget what today was. Today was our 5th year anniversary. We've talked about all different kinds of movies. We've had special guests come on. We've had live events happen. We've done fundraisers. We've done all these different kinds of things.
Yeah.
We have another special guest next week coming on. What has this podcast meant to you the last 5 years for you?
Yeah, man. The last 5 years has been it's been a ride. It really has, man. It's I never thought when I called you, it's always a fun story to go back.
Oh, something happened to Zach. We lost communication. So while he's waiting, Ella's back. She's on mute though. Or she's back. Nope, she's back.
I'm back.
I was just asking Zach what this podcast has meant to him the last 5 years, since we are celebrating year number 5 today. He got disconnected somehow, so hopefully he'll be back. There he is.
Sorry about that.
Okay. No, you're
Sorry
good.
about that.
But go ahead.
No. In all seriousness, in the last 5 years doing this show, I never thought we would get to the level that we are today, whether it be doing this for 5 years, doing live shows, getting to talk to all different types of people. It's been a joy. It's been a pleasure. It's always been it's been an interesting ride, depending on what movies we talk about. Some have been awesome. Some have been like not so good. So, but I think you have to do that. I think if you're going to be a film fan, you have to be open just to all kinds of different things. So, and I think we've covered that, whether it be Hitchcock, Marvel, DC,
Thanks, Lisa.
Animated Batman movies, all kinds of stuff. And, I think, like I said, it's been so much fun and I look forward to doing it. And I think that if you're going to have a hobby and it succeeds to this level, you're obviously doing something right. So,
Ella, you are 2 episodes in on this 5-year journey that we have started. How's it been for you? Are you coping well with it? Are you having fun? Because that's at the end of the day, that's all it's about, is just having fun.
Yeah, it actually has been a lot of fun. And I think we had talked about this before, how I just have kind of lost the focus to be able to sit and watch a movie at home and not just go to the theater. And the theater is still really iffy for me because, we're still kind of just coming out of COVID and going to get back into it soon. But other than that, it's been really exciting to have the motivation to watch these movies and pay attention and actually getting to talk about it with friends. It's like basically a book club, but I'm better watcher than a reader.
That's one of my main focuses and happy places. Was I was like, I see the whole reason I even started this was I was like, I have a library behind me. I have all these movies that I want to share with people, watch experiences. I'm like, people have fun during book clubs. Why can't I take movies and kind of do the same thing?
Yeah.
So that was my whole start of this podcast. I was never a podcaster before. I didn't know anything about it. Literally bought the cheapest mic possible, and you could tell our very first few episodes it was cheap. Um, and I started it, and it grew and grew and grew, and then all of a sudden I'm like, is that really 8,000 people downloading this podcast weekly? And then it went higher and higher, and now doing this with you guys visually, it's fun. Most of our viewership is still downloading audio, which I still thank you, everybody out in podcast land that's listening to us. Thank you so much. If you're watching us on Facebook Live or Emisawa Productions YouTube channel, we're growing still, video wise. But thank you, and we will continue to go on. But Zach, today's movie, I feel like it had to be special, just like the episode. But today we are talking Batman: Mask of the Phantasm. Batman is wrongfully implicated in a series of murders of mob bosses actually committed by a new vigilante assassin. IMDb currently has it at 7.8. Rotten Tomatoes is at 81%. The Metascore is at 65%, while the Google users like it at 69%. This did technically bomb at the box office with a $6 million budget. It only grossed $5 million at the box office with a December 25th, 1993 release date. This turns 30 years old this year, with the voice cast of Kevin Conroy, Dana Delaney, Dick Miller, Mark Hamill as the Joker. Zach,
That's a pagoda.
That's GOAT record right there. But this movie did bomb at the box office due to them putting it on in theaters very, very, very last minute. This movie has kind of grown a cult following. Some calling it the best Batman animated movie of all time. Zach, we'll start with you. Was this your first time watching the movie, visiting it for the podcast, and how was it? What'd you think? Few short words.
Yeah, this was my first time. So I want to preface, I didn't grow up with the animated series. I didn't grow up watching Batman. It just wasn't in my wheelhouse growing up. So going into this, obviously I was familiar with the animated series, but overall I liked it. I thought it was an interesting movie. I have questions regarding the timeline, whether it's where it fits into everything. Obviously, animation wise, it's great. Voice casting and everything, but overall, I had fun with it, and interesting to hear you guys' thoughts, since you guys are probably the lovers of this film, I guess you would say.
Hello, same question. Was this the first time you've seen it? And if not, do you remember the first time you've seen it?
So we definitely were a family that watched all the Batmans from this era, even because this movie came out in '93, and I was only 2 years old at the time. So I doubt it was in movie theaters, and I can't really remember if I ever saw it, but watching it today, it just felt so familiar. It felt just, the storyline. That's what's the comforting part, and it's your favorite characters like Mark Hamill and Abe Vigoda. Like, I love those two, and it's just still crazy that how many like people that we look up to as, I guess, a society are actually in the animated series and voicing characters.
So let's dig into this. Recently, it's celebrating a 30th anniversary. This movie, for me at least, I remember watching this for the first time on VHS. Like, I got it for Christmas the year later, Christmas 1994. And I just wearing out the VHS tape. So rewatching it to me is always like just nostalgia, memory. Even went out got the 30th anniversary packaging. So to me, it's an important movie. Um, Zach, Ella, the opening score. What do you think of the score in that first opening song?
Yeah, I think the score, it's by Shirley Walker, it's very grandiose. It's very epic. It's very foreboding of something's going to happen. You just don't know what it is. Yeah, it really puts you in the right mood set to watch the movie. And I guess to start asking questions, is this part of the animated series? Is this a prequel, a sequel, just a spin-off, or is it its own thing?
So it's technically its own thing, but it was filmed and released in between season 1 and 2.
Okay.
And they don't make you relive Bruce's parents' death. They don't make you do any of that, because technically when you start season 1, episode 1 of the animated series, it doesn't go back to the basics. It doesn't go back to the beginning. That's what this movie does. And that's what I appreciate so much about this movie is, first off, you see kills. I think this was one of the first times you see kills in a Batman movie. This is the first time that you, in at least animated version, you see Bruce. Bruce is pretty much first and only love when it comes to the animated movie, which is Andrea Beaumont. And so it takes you back to how he becomes Batman and how he technically has to destroy his past in order to protect his future, if that makes sense.
Okay.
If that answers your question.
Yeah, I really like Zach said, I like the music. It gets you ready to watch Batman. It's, again, a very familiar score. While each movie is different in how it does its music, it's just still that essence of Batman it always has. But I actually was looking up what other things that Shirley Walker worked on, and she actually worked on a lot of Batman things, not just this movie. And then she worked on the animated Spawn. Like, that's perfect. Like, I loved that show. And apparently she was also a part of the music department in True Lies.
And for the longest time, this was considered the greatest animated Batman movie of all time until The Killing Joke came out, which, spoiler alert, we'll talk about later this year. But
love that movie.
Let's talk about the first kill. Like I said, it's the first time you see a lot of killing in a Batman movie. What'd you think of Chucky's Soul's death in the first 10 minutes? You get to meet the Phantasm, which I also want to point out, you don't see the Phantasm in any of the animated series. It's just a movie. The character never makes another appearance at all. Not even a live action movie. This is all you get.
I think you keep cutting out.
You're cutting out, Johnny.
This is all you get of the Phantasm.
Okay.
So what?
So yeah, I mean, like the first kill. I mean, it definitely. You can maybe categorize this movie as almost like a Halloween type movie, not in the sense of like Halloween the movie, but just like a trick or treat haunted, like a good haunted horror movie type thing. I mean, the first character, I mean, doesn't he get killed off in a cemetery or something like that?
That's the second one.
The second one.
Yeah. But
it has a very ghostly presence that it really sets the mood for this is something that Batman has never fought before. And the
Joker says it perfectly. He looks like the ghost of Christmas future.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, I understand the love for Mark Hamill's Joker now. I get it. Because it's always obviously, if Heath Ledger, Jack Nicholson, but outside of those two, he's probably the third best. And I get it now. His voice alone is just like, yeah, that's perfect for
Mark Hamill is literally so perfect. Like, I was gonna bring up his role in What We Do in the Shadows. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that, but he just plays this other vampire. And my husband watched it like twice before he even realized that was Mark Hamill, and Star Wars is like his freaking favorite. Like, how?
That's
how
funny.
Did you not realize that? It looks just like him.
So
but
go ahead. Go ahead. No, finish.
Oh, I was going to say about the first kill, kind of what I thought about that, because I mean, like you said, there's not a lot of killing in Batman, but it's just really funny to see a more animated Batman mindset. Like, he's not going to kill anyone, but he sure will like kick all the henchmen down, or when they're down. Yeah. Very vengeful.
Zach, was it this movie that you were like, wow, Mark Hamill is the Joker, or have you heard have you heard some of his work before this movie?
No, really, this is my first time, if I'm being truly honest, like seeing him as the character, hearing him as the character. And it's just like, that was, I mean, just to jump ahead a little, that was my favorite part of the movie. Anytime he shows up on screen, it's just like, yeah, like this is cool. This is awesome. I get why people love this. But on the other side of the coin, I do like, and we could talk about this a little bit. I like the backstory that they built for Bruce Wayne, like you said, Johnny, for his love interest with Andrea. Too many flashbacks. I mean, I didn't have a problem with it, but I enjoyed the flashbacks that's what built him as a character. It's not just him falling down a well. It's just not his parents getting killed. There's other things to the Bruce Wayne mythology.
Right.
That influence
him. He has other traumas.
Yes, he has other traumas that influence him to be Batman, and I appreciated that. I'm glad they showed that in this movie.
Yeah, and it's different, and this movie's only an hour 14, so you get everything, and in that hour 14, and just when you thought, man, he's got the Phantasm to deal with, and then you're going back to his love story and how he became Batman. Like 45 minutes in, you get introduced to the Joker, and you're like, man, the Joker's in this now. And it's kind of the best of both worlds. In the animated series, you never get the Joker's backstory either. So you kind of get the Joker's backstory in this too, is how he was a gangster, and he's the last piece of the puzzle of the Phantasm's revenge. So
yeah, so when I went to look at like the screenshots of the movie first, and I realized that like the Joker was in it as well, I kind of felt that feeling that I'm sure everyone in the theater felt, like the Joker's in this one.
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad, like you said, now obviously I'm taking your word for it. They don't show the Joker's backstory in the animated series, but I'm glad if you're going to bring the Joker in, tie it into the storyline, which is, I guess he was a goon of, he was just one of the goons of the people that were threatening Andrea's father, correct?
yeah,
he was the creepy one that was kind of hitting on him,
yeah,
hitting on Andrea every time she walks through the door.
He's the one who walks out when she walks in to see him dead.
Yeah.
So he's the one that ultimately does away with Andrea's dad. And also Arthur. It's the first time you meet Arthur, and it's the one and only time he's in an animated movie or show. And same thing with Andrea Beaumont. So that character is also a one and done in this movie. I like how it kind of twists everything with all these characters, but at the end of the day, it's Batman and Joker, and it's them at the end of the day. And it kind of Killing Joke. It doesn't reference this movie at all, but it's a perfect ending if you've ever seen The Killing Joke. It's on HBO Max. We're going to talk about it in December, maybe even November. I'm not sure, but it's a perfect tie-in. Silently.
That's another one I've heard is incredible when it comes to Batman animation.
Zach, you talked about the cemetery death where the big cross falls on the other guy. Mm-hmm. What did you both think of the cemetery death? Whoever wants to go first.
I think them. It was almost like the deaths got more, not traumatic, but they got more grisly as the film went on.
Yeah.
In certain different ways, and it very much set the tone for. And obviously, when you get to the giant twist at the end of the movie, it makes sense of why these people die in horrible fashions. So, I mean, I appreciate it. I think this movie is very smart. It's written very smart in a very smart way where everything ties up. And I'll admit, by the time we get to the twist of the film, it got me. I was like, oh, I was not expecting that at all. And I thought I was thinking something else, and it turned out to be this. And it makes sense. I didn't question it. And yeah, like I said, the deaths, they get more gruesome as it goes on.
And that's kind of what I like about the animated series. It is able to build and then just kind of get a little bit past what they do live, but whenever it's the live action, it's like they're going to hit you with it first. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. And I have a question for that, because if I'm going to watch Batman, I think my first Batman movie was probably Batman Begins, truthfully, honestly. Mm-hmm. So I grew up with the Nolan movies. You know, we sat through all the Zack Snyder stuff, and where we are today with Robert Pattinson. Why is it that the animated movies get so much more critical reception, wise, compared to the live action ones? Just in your guys' opinion.
I honestly think it's never satisfied with what you got kind of thing. Like the animated series or any movies or anything, even just like the Joker one we're going to talk about, it allows a story to build. Like it doesn't just have to go straight to the action. And I think that's what viewers lose, is the appreciation to just listen to a story.
Yeah.
Well, I love that point. That's a good point too. But my question, or my thought and my comment is, they don't go together. All these Batman animated movies, you don't need a universe. You put all your coins in one bag, you tell that one story, and it ends up being a really good, well-written story. With the live action movies, you have to develop a universe, and you have to develop character building, and you have to develop acting. CGI is a complaint. With the animated movies, it's none of that. It's just the characters you enjoy, and it's good storytelling. Batman Year 1 and Year 2, highly recommended. The Killing Joke is one. The Dark Knight, the Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and 2. All these Batman animated movies, which are on HBO Max or Max, go check them out, because if you have an hour and 15 to kill and you want just not even character development, you just want to see these stories come to life in an animated version, go check them out, because if you think this one is good, they're all good. This one's to me this one's on that GOAT level, but they're all right behind it.
I feel like the animated movies are definitely like you're grabbing a comic book out of a graphic novel type thing.
Yeah.
Even it's not Batman, but he's got some appearances in it. The Flashpoint Paradox is another good animated DC movie. The Death of Superman is a good one. Craig said it a few weeks ago, and I wish he was on here to talk about it, but Craig said it a few weeks ago. The DC animated movies just hit on another level. Mm-hmm. It's everything. The animation always looks so good. So
yeah.
Zach, you wanted to talk about the scene. We'll talk about the ending scene a little bit. That kind of got you. But another death was Saul's death. What'd you guys think of when, the Phantasm comes in, rips the magazine or the newspaper out of his hand, and he's already dead with the camera pointing at him, and it's the Joker trying to see who is actually doing these killings. That's another Ghost of Christmas Present dark scene. This movie's really dark for it to be stringed towards kids.
Yeah, I mean that when it's the contortion of the face, just like, oh damn, that would have been a horrible death. But I like how Joker's pissed that his kills are being taken from him. I really like that aspect of it, and how this is my territory. Like, who are you to come in and do what I'm supposed to do?
And that's just kind of the essence of the Joker. He's like, that's what I do. I'm the person that kills you. Stop killing people for me.
Let's see. Let's talk about the ending. The layout, if you will, of the amusement park, which is referenced at the beginning and in the middle of the movie, where the ending takes place. You have the big, Bruce Wayne finds out who the Joker really was, and he was the one who killed her dad. What do you guys think of the reveal that Andrea, however you want to say it, is the Phantasm? Zach, what way did you think this was going?
I thought the way the movie was set up and the way it was presenting it to me was, it was her dad that was doing the killing. It was, everything was directed towards her. Andrea was just an innocent bystander at all this. And he's the one behind the Phantasm mask. But I'm glad it didn't go that way, because, I would have figured it out earlier. And so when the mask is revealed and it's Andrea, I was just like, that's awesome. You got me in a twist, and it really worked. So when Batman has to confront that, I was just like, oh, like, I want to take you out. I want to bring you in, but like, damn it, I loved you at some point, so I'm not going to. I think that's very different. That's a very different way of Batman dealing with a villain in that form and fashion. So,
Ella, what about you? Did you enjoy the twist? Did you think it was going another way, kind of like Zach, or did you kind of know all along?
So I'm kind of the worst at predicting movie endings. Like, me and my husband will just sit there, watch a movie, and like predict back and forth like what's going to happen. He's almost always right. I'm pretty much always wrong. It's not what I'm good at. So I didn't really like Zach said, it kind of just made sense to be like the dad or whatever. But yeah, I didn't even think of any other twist, because that's just not what I do best. One, I do have to ask you something. Have you taken allergy medicine?
I am on an allergy pill. I've been on.
You're cutting in and out again, dude.
How about now?
You're good.
Allergy, Dayquil, NyQuil, Mucinex, Theraflu. Theraflu with a hot little pouch, and it's been about, this is day number, Saturday will be 2 weeks.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it probably isn't just allergies, but like Oklahoma's been so rainy and crazy as the weather changes, and that's usually when like my family's allergies just like spike.
Flare
so
up,
that's
yeah.
when we are doing the Benadryl at night, and it really, I mean, I just have since we've been on, I started feeling a lot more drainage. And I was like, Juan
Here
got
we
me
go.
sick for the computer.
Like
I think it's just the allergies.
There's been no green mucus, so that's good, right?
Oh yeah, it's probably is just allergies then.
But no infection.
Right.
I've
Just
never.
take more Benadryl.
There we go. But then I'll fall asleep during movies like what we're talking about today.
And do it at night.
So ending kind of got you guys. What did you think of? She technically was fine. She almost had like a Titanic ending. The old lady at the end of the ship, she was fine. Batman obviously goes on and goes out into the night. He's still Batman. Ending was good.
I mean, to be honest, it made me want to watch the animated series. So obviously, it succeeded in that aspect. So, and I like how, like you said, Johnny, you don't have to watch the animated series. You don't have to follow a giant universe. It's just its own thing. And I think as moviegoers and as watchers, we forget we can have a simple independent story. I think that's one of the great things about Robert Pattinson's Batman. It's not connected to the DCEU. It's its own story.
I love that Batman.
So, Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, yeah, it's a story evolved over 3 movies, but
you don't need all 3.
It's hell.
Just one, you can watch one.
Yeah, you can watch The Dark Knight. You can watch Dark Knight Return or Dark Knight Rises, The Batman Begins. It individually their own story, but if you want more, you have that option. So
Zach, a documentary a few weeks ago made me go on a documentary binge. Want to check out some more DC? I know you said the animated show, but did it make you want to go check out other animated Batman movies or DC animated movies?
Yeah, just your mic again. Yeah, The Killing Joke. I heard that's like probably number 1 outside of Mask of the Phantasm. The Dark Knight Returns. Probably those 2 in the animated series are probably on my watch list of those are the ones I want to tackle next. So
nice.
Yeah, I always really love just doing Batman marathons with each of the different Batmans, and the one I still can't get behind is just the Ben Affleck. Like, I'm sure it's fine, but I can't bring myself to even accept him as Batman, so I'm just not even trying. But I want to watch the Flash.
He's the best part of Batman v Superman. Honestly,
I actually think
he's really
I
good.
saw that one. Was that like his first appearance in a movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that, and I did like it, but I was just like,
she didn't say George Clooney, so that's a win for me. George Clooney I grew up with George Clooney.
Me too, like Mr. Freeze. Yes. I love Poison Ivy. Like, that is like some of my favorite movies. Zach, and I think he was. Oh, go ahead.
Zach, you taking notes? You better watch Mr. Freeze and Batman.
Oh, I don't know if I can do that one. I don't know.
They're perfect, but that's what I was going to say about the animated series. Oh, sorry.
I don't know. The bat nipples themselves, I don't know.
I
don't think I can do it, man.
He's just cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, the great thing about this animated movie is that it actually goes with the animated series, so it's a lot easier to be like, oh, let me jump into that, and then you'll get a whole era of Batman that's more than just like a trilogy.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard. It like I said, it's its own thing, but it definitely spreads starts the seed for what comes in the animated series, even though they're, like you said, Johnny, these characters don't come back in that.
Favorite scenes? Ella, we'll start with you. You have
I mean, I would just say I like gore. So the cemetery scene probably was just one of the cooler killings to me. So
I
I'll
always
go with
thought
that.
I'll go with the opening scene of the introduction of the Phantasm. Always thought that was just a perfect way to introduce somebody, especially with killing somebody right off the bat. It almost feels this kind of feels like a Scream / Batman movie, like a whodunit.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoyed the opening scene. Anytime the Joker's on screen, I enjoy it. Um, and then the Saul death when he had the newspaper ripped out and Joker had already got to him was a fun scene as well. Zach, what about you? Any favorite scenes?
Probably my favorite is just anytime Mark Hamill's Joker's on screen. The fair where he's talking to the animatronics as like that's his family. I thought it's just that's perfect for a Joker character. And then just the backstory between Bruce and Andrea. Like you said, Ella, it's just another trauma that kind of feeds his obsession to be Batman. And it's more than that. So yeah, those are probably the two gold stars in the movie for me. So.
All right. Zach, I hope this isn't Michael Keaton Batman-esque for you. Ella, what about you? We'll start with you first. Star rating 1 out of 10. What do you give this one?
I have to give pretty much every Batman series, movie, everything a 10. I have a really skewed system, but here are my biases. Batman's pretty much my favorite superhero. Like Marvel, DC. Like I grew up whenever the DC movies were like just still really good. I didn't really watch the Marvel stuff until it kind of had its big deal with Iron Man. Yeah. So I just love Batman so much because he's just my childhood. So if I was giving it a real rating, I'd say like 8-ish, just because I mean it is a familiar storyline, and but you're not really asking for anything new when it comes to Batman. So
you're going with an 8.
We'll do that.
I'm gonna be biased. It's one of my favorite Batman movies of all time. It's my favorite animated movie. I'm giving it a 10. I watched it twice in like 12 hours. The score is fantastic. The animation for its time is fun. Kevin Conroy is Batman. Mark Hamill is the Joker. It's just a perfect, quick animated movie for me, and I could watch it over and over again. And the 4K, the sound is amazing. The visuals are epic. Go check it out. Go buy it. Is it worth $27? I don't know. But
I mean, if you're collecting, yeah, probably.
It is, but from a standpoint of just honestly, if you've never seen it before, go check it out on Max. There's a reason that this is a cult, has a cult following. It may have not even made its budget back, but it's a fun animated movie. 10 for me, Zach.
All right, moment of truth. Do I destroy? Do I help? Honestly, I'll give it a 7. I mean, like I said, this is my first time watch, and to kind of delve into the DC Batman animated stuff, it's a good start, honestly. Now there are people out there thinking like, well, why didn't you give it a higher grade? Because this is new to me. Like I said, I didn't grow up with this, so just coming at it as an adult, as a film viewer, as someone that likes superhero movies, I feel like a 7 is a relatively good grade for a first time watch, especially if it's something you've never seen before. So
it is.
It's not, it's not Batman Returns, Johnny. So you should be happy.
I didn't get it. It's fine. So you live to fight another day. But no, this has definitely been a fun show. I want to thank Zach SCHEERER for being on earlier in the show.
I wanted to show something I got from Walmart, an exclusive Walmart, the Nightmare Before Christmas picture disc with music by Danny Elfman. I don't know how cameras work, but it's so cute, and I haven't opened it. I took the plastic off today, and it kind of killed me a little bit. But look how cute it is.
Oh, that's the vinyl. Have you listened to it yet?
I haven't. No, I literally just opened it, and I had it for like a week or so. But yeah, I saw it. It was like $25, and I was like, I've got to have that. That's one of my favorite movies. That's like one of those childhood movies for me. So
It's worth
yeah,
it. And
I'm like so ready for Halloween.
we're talking about that movie in October.
Stuff. We are.
We are.
Nightmare Before Christmas?
Yeah, we've never reviewed it here, Zach. And I was like, how have we not reviewed that movie? So I'm taking out Armageddon and I'm putting in The Nightmare Before Christmas.
I'm kind of sad, but I'm okay with it.
So
as long as we can do Armageddon later, I kind of like Armageddon.
Armageddon's fun.
Just fun.
No, I like Armageddon. It's one of the better Michael Bay movies, I'll say. So
I do too.
I didn't even realize that was Michael Bay. I just remember from when I was little.
But next week we're going back to school. We're talking a little bit about. We're talking some Jack Black, and we're talking School of Rock next week on another new episode of the Cinnamon Movie Podcast. We also have another fellow podcaster joining us next week. So we got another special guest. This one he's going to special guest reviewer. He's going to review the whole movie with us. He's going to hang out with us and talk all about School of Rock. Zach, we'll start with you. Are you excited for next week?
Oh yeah, I rewatched the movie yesterday. It's so much fun. It's on Paramount Plus, and you can watch it for free on YouTube. I can't wait to talk about it. So
Ella,
yeah,
School
I
of
super
Rock?
love this movie. It was again one of those. I mean, I don't think I was like super young, but it was definitely one of those movies. I was like, yeah, this is the coolest. I love Jack Black. It was really one of those like early ones that I think Shallow Hal was probably the earliest movie that I love in. But School of Rock is another magnificent one.
So next week, fun fact, I've only seen it once, so this will only be my second time watching it for next week's episode. So we'll see how the rewatchability is to me. School of Rock next week on another new episode. 5 down, another 5 to go maybe. I don't know. Any other final nail in the coffin comments before we move on to School of Rock, guys?
No.
Just glad you guys are still having me.
Thank you all.
Excelsior.
Uh-oh.
There you go.
I don't know how to say words.
Again, go check out Zach Shearer's new movie in theaters September 29th, The Re-Education of Molly Singer. And this is next week, School of Rock, on a brand new episode of the Cinnamon Movie Podcast. 5 years.